So, it's an indirect impact when we talk about infrastructure, when we talk about housing, when we talk about solar panels, when we talk about green energy. You're absolutely right. But, one more big focus that the government had in this interim budget was about the corpus of 1 lakh crore rupees that has been built. This is for innovation and research. Now, how can this be inculcated by the steel industry to see a pivot point where it is able to contribute and is a key factor in developing India into a $7 trillion economy?
See, it's a good question. Even otherwise, we were into innovation, but the companies, the Honorable Prime Minister's focus now on R&D, on innovation is indeed laudable. It will help the breakthrough technologies to come up, especially today, in today's environment. Everyone is looking at decarbonization. Everyone is looking at reducing the cost of hydrogen. So this will come a long way in even towards net zero target of 2070.
Right. How do you think we'll be able to get the best material science and the state-of-the-art alloy fabrication in India for frontline sectors like defense and space?
See, even without this, we are looking at import substitution in a very big way. We are keen on producing high-end steels required for defense, required for EV sector. We are the electrical industry. But this will be, apart from the PLI scheme, this is another fillip for us to develop newer steels for new age technology. And we are into digital age. We are already into a digital age, but this will further speed up this emphasis on innovation, will speed up the digitization drive of all the industries, apart from their other core activities. Digitization will definitely get a big fillip with this.
Okay. Also, your reaction, sir, on are you bullish on the Indian economy today? The stock markets have been resilient. They have started on a high and they continue to be so.
See, absolutely. And this is only a precursor of what is to come up in July. In July, I'm sure the main budget will come. This is only an interim budget. And the market also recognizes that. This budget will also attract foreign investments because it shows that India is very keen on fiscal prudence. It is keen on reducing fiscal deficit. It is keen on maintaining fiscal discipline in the market. So I think it's the foreign investments also would be attracted to a greater extent to this country.
There has been an announcement, figures that have been provided by the government, 25 crore that people who have been alleviated from poverty. There have been a number of schemes that have been announced when it comes to houses, when it comes to water, when it comes to electricity, when it comes to health. At the same time, there have been avant-garde initiatives, funding corpus that has also been provided by the government in various sectors, whether we talk about AI or semiconductors, we talk about defense and space. Do you think India is at a position right now that there can be an increment in the per capita income of an individual and there is a level playing field for individuals across the country, the 140 crore population of our country, and at the same time, we are then going to be able to target the third largest economy tag that we have been vying for?
Absolutely. As I said, more is expected in July. Um, the idea is that there should be more disposable income in the hands of the people. We have seen the indication already in this interim budget, but this will further get accentuated, I'm sure, in July, where the disposable income of at the hands of the people, especially in rural India, goes up, and this will in turn speed up the consumption of not only steel but all even consumables as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Dilip Omen, for joining us on the telecast, sharing your views on the interim budget 2024. I'm also being joined right now by Mr. Nadir Godrej. He's the Managing Director of Godrej Industries. Good to have you, sir. And of course, my first question, how was the interim budget 2024 for you? What was your reaction to it?
Yes, we must bear in mind that it is an interim budget. And as the previous speaker said, in July or so, we will have a final budget, and hopefully much more will be done there. There were no new taxation proposals, but there was discussion about spending. And I was very enthused that there are a lot of agricultural initiatives which will help the rural economy of India. Hopefully it will create more jobs in rural India, which is a sore need. And also in animal husbandry, and in oil seeds, and a lot of focus on green energy, offshore wind, as well as biogas and biofuel. All of this is very heartening, and I was particularly intrigued by their talk on more biological industries, biofoundries, biological products. I think that's a lot of scope in our group also. We are looking at biological products, and we are interested in seeing what the government is doing on that. It was also mentioned that there are incentives for more innovation, more R&D, which India sorely needs. Our future manufacturing will have to be based on completely innovative products. And of course, the startup economy is still doing very well in India. And we hope that many new startups will come with novel ideas and keep the Indian economy growing.
Absolutely. Mr. Godrej, there was a sentiment that was going around right before the budget was announced that it is going to be a populist budget, keeping in mind the elections are on the anvil. That has not been the case. How do you react to this? Is this good for the economy, bad for the economy?
It's good for the economy, and actually populism is supposed to be a way of winning elections. But what this government has been doing is spending a lot on capital expenditure and schemes that are actually benefiting people and the economy. When you spend like that, although the budget deficit may be high, debt to GDP can fall because the GDP is growing very fast. So there's no harm having a budget deficit if you have intelligent spending, which helps to grow the economy. And I would urge the government to continue doing that, even if the budget deficit is higher than their 5.1% target, which the market was very enthused about, because it's not the budget deficit that is important, but how useful the spend is in growing the economy. And the government has been quite intelligent in spending on capital expenditure that helps the long-term growth of the economy as well as the short-term growth of the economy. And there is no harm in such spending, and I would urge the government to do productive spending.
The one big spend that the government of India announced today was the 1 lakh crore corpus on innovation, research and development. How does the agri-processing industry gain from it? Keeping in mind there have been huge incentives that have been announced by the finance ministry on it.
Yeah. I'm not sure how the agri-processing industry will benefit from it because we don't know all the details, but I'm very enthused that there is funding for innovation because innovation has long-term benefits and it's a very good idea to spend money on that. It's obviously not very populist, but it will definitely help the economy grow in the long run. And I think the government is thinking towards their next election rather than this one. They seem pretty confident about this one. But I fully endorse the funding of innovation. It is the way to keep the Indian economy growing faster. And if more and more funding for innovation is announced later on in the July budget, I am sure that we will go from 7% to 9 or 10% growth.
Right. Also, is this palpable for an Indian living in our country that there is a structural transformation that is taking place within the economy when we are talking about providing roti kapda makan, we are providing the Awas Yojana, we talk about Jal Yojana, we talk about healthcare, we talk about Ujjwala Yojana, we talk about Swachh Yojana, and at the same time there is that pivot that is being built and perhaps also very visible in the budgets and the allocation in the capital expenditure that has been provided to push India towards a technologically advanced country.
Yes, I think both go hand in hand. If we are technologically advanced, the economy will grow very fast, and spending on basics is very important. Without education, we cannot have a labor force ready for the future economy. And without healthcare and sanitation, people can't do anything. People can't even go to school if they are malnourished and don't have proper sanitation facilities. So those basics are absolutely necessary. Education is necessary for the economy to grow, and healthcare and sanitation are necessary. Malnutrition has to be stopped. Malnourished children can't learn anything, and once malnourishment sets in, it's very difficult to correct, so we have to prevent it. So I think the government's focus is important, and unfortunately a lot has to be done simultaneously in order to get this economy is doing, but fortunately the government is doing a lot.
Mr. Godrej, are you bullish on the Indian economy? We see the stock markets that started off on a high have continued to maintain that high, but also about the fact that we are aiming at a $7 trillion economy. When you talk to industrialists like you, is this a dream? Is this a goal that is fairly achievable?
Yes. I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk, but if we all work at it, it is achievable. The government has to do its bit, private enterprise has to step up, and the people have to raise their aspirations, train themselves for the new economy, and if all of us work together, I'm sure we can achieve it.
And finally, sir, before I let you go, is a stable government working at the center as well as in the states going to further have the political impetus that is required for our businesses, our entrepreneurs, our industries to achieve this goal?
A stable government is always very welcome and is a necessary condition for economic progress. But in a democracy, it's equally important to have a constant dialogue without confrontation and carry everyone with us, and the best decisions are made when everyone is consulted.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nadir Godrej, for joining us on the telecast, sharing your views on interim budget 2024. I'm going to again come back to Mr. Jindal. Do we have Mr. Jindal on the telecast with us? Akash Jindal? Okay, I have with me Rahul Garg. And Rahul, quickly a response from you. Good to have you on the telecast with us. As I'm asking everybody else, what has your opinion been of the interim budget?
It's very simply remarkable with the stringent target that you had for the fiscal deficit. During the year, the kind of welfare schemes those were railed out. During the year, the fact that asset monetization could not fully be harnessed. And even then, And even then I'm saying instead of 5.9% of the target, you're likely to end it at 5.8% of the fiscal deficit. And also with confidence, plan for the next year, even lower fiscal deficit of 5.1%, shows a lot of the prudence in management of the affairs in such turbulent world, and which is remarkable to my mind.
Talking about, a massive chunk of our budget has been allocated to infrastructure, to road infrastructure, and that amounts to about 11 lakh crore rupees, over 11 lakh crore rupees. How does this benefit India's economy?
So you have seen it in past over last 10 years. The propeller of the economy has been infrastructure spend, and for some reason, the private investment and demand has been supporting it, but has not become the primary engine. So I would say that till such time the private investment and consumption becomes the primary engine for the growth, the spend on infrastructure, and particularly the meaningful infrastructure, which adds to the quality of life, which adds to the ease of doing business, which adds to the economies of efficiency, and which adds to the better governance, is a very prudent decision and very thoughtful way of putting the money where it can get best out of it.
Let's also talk about green energy, and there has been initiatives after initiatives that have been announced by the government of India. In fact, just a few days ago, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the Prime Minister's solar energy program, where solar rooftops have been the focal point. There has in fact been subsidies being provided, incentives for those households that have solar rooftops. There is going to be 300 units of power that is going to be provided free. In keeping up with all these missions, whether we talk about wind energy, solar energy, hydrogen energy, is there now a realization within ourselves that it is time to switch to green energy, renewable energy, which is also going to help us cut down on buying crude and coal and natural gas, which ends up costing a large chunk of our expenditure, spending a large chunk of our expenditure on all these imports that we make. Rakesh Nange, if you could answer that question to me as well. The fact that, as I was talking to Mr. Garg, there's a huge chunk that is invested into buying crude oil, buying coal, buying natural gas. Can a transition be made? And I know it's going to have a long gestation period. Have we been able to at least sow the seeds of building a transition to renewable energy, and can renewable energy then take over a larger percentage of fuel that we utilize in various aspects of life?
Let me answer you each wise. As regarding energy, we're talking overall energy is there. If you see as oil and gas is concerned, crude is concerned, India has been almost 75% still importing the crude from worldwide actually. So we are highly dependent on imports as regarding oil and gas. Crude is concerned actually is there. So if you see the overall security is concerned, yes, we have a challenges, and here there is a drift now. There is a worldwide drift in the matrix of the energy sector actually. You'll see green energy coming basically, you'll see wind energy coming basically, you have a sustainability issue coming up in a very big way. Will this continue to be like that? One of the issues that is being debated is they will become a constant, there will be a constant demand. The incremental demand will always be met by the non-conventional energy. So you will find that non-conventional renewable energy will play a bigger and bigger role because of sustainability issues, because of the commitment made in COP28 by the Prime Minister basically, that we need to be net zero again by 2070, and hence the only role that can be played will be the non-conventional energy. Okay. But this does not mean the other energy, oil and gas or something, will go away. They may remain static or may not go at that level of proportion.
Mr. Rahul Garg, quickly as the response from you on the same question. can the world and particularly India sustain on renewable energy, or do we continue, is the anticipation that we will have to continue to rely on fossil fuel for our energy needs?
He's on mute. He's on mute.
I'll have to quickly ask you to unmute yourself. Okay, before I go to Mr. Garg, I'm being told that General V.K. Singh, Minister of State for Roads and Highways, also on the telecast with me. General V.K. Singh, thank you so much for joining us on the telecast. And of course, the first question I ask you about the big corpus of over 11 lakh crore rupees that has been allocated for infrastructure. How does this help the economy grow? General V.K. Singh, if you can hear me.
I can't hear you properly.
Okay, we'll try to get back to General V.K. Singh, fix that audio problem that we are facing right now.
अपना वॉल्यूम कम करिए.
Okay, General V.K. Singh, I think you're able to hear me now. My first question about the infrastructure outlay that has been announced. Now, how is this going to further build on the $7 trillion economy dream, the goal that has been envisaged for 2030? Okay, I'll try to come back to General V.K. Singh and Mr. Garg, carrying forward again, I spoke to you about infrastructure, but the impetus that I want to put in this discussion is about green energy. Everybody is talking about electric vehicles, everybody is talking about solar energy, everybody is talking about hydrogen energy, but India has been a laggard when it comes to having our EV infrastructure in place, having our lithium cells in place. We have been lagging behind other countries like China and United States of America and Japan and other countries in Europe. How soon do you think are we going to be able to fill in that gap?
So I think 2 points that you make here. One is on the green energy, and the second is the utilization of the green energy and the EV infrastructure. So EV infrastructure and using the EV as alternate mode of transport helps you only when you have the energy sources which are green sources. There's no point having EV infrastructure where EV is running on merely the thermal power plants. And therefore, the point that you were making a while before, when Rakesh Nangia responded saying that we would continue to increase the proportion of the green energy, and there are various announcements made even in this interim budget speech of the finance minister that whether it is wind, near shore, whether it is solar or rooftop, there are incentives for this, and India's commitment to make the higher proportion of green energy in our GDP is going as per plan. And when you said that we are laggard in terms of green energy, I hope you did not mean the green energy commitment that we have made to the people, but maybe in terms of the EV infrastructure, as you now said.
Yes.
And in relation to the EV infrastructure, I clearly want to say that it is a work in progress. There has been, as you know, the PLI, there has been some discussion on the lithium and the mining of the lithium, but mining of lithium and rare earths in such infrastructure is a slightly long-term thing. And therefore, I would say that work parallelly on the EV infrastructure along with the greening of the energy basket is what the recipe is, which the government is determined to create forward, and which is the right thing to do in
quickly,
today's circumstances.
I just have to interrupt you, sir. Joining me again on the telecast is General V.K. Singh. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the telecast. And of course, the first question about the highways and road projects and how soon do you think they are going to be completed, the newer ones that have been undertaken? Are they going to be new of such initiatives, projects that are going to be announced, keeping in mind there is a huge corpus of over 11 lakh crore rupees that has been sanctioned by the central government in this budget?
आपके क्लियर नहीं है, प्लीज इसको
General VK Singh, if you can hear me now.
your voice is I can't.
Okay, we'll try to figure out that audio connection, and I'll come back to General VK Singh, the Minister of State for Roads and Highways. He'll have an important perspective to provide, keeping in mind there are structural reforms, particularly when it comes to infrastructure of our country, whether it's roads, ports, highways. We talk about rails, we talk about aviation. It's of extreme importance. Utmost essentiality, because it not only improves and streamlines logistics domestically, but also aims at attracting foreign investment, which then sees India as a lucrative, fast moving economy. All right, I'm quickly getting in again. I have with me Mr. Nangia again. And Mr. Nangia, we were talking about infrastructure and we were talking about green energy, and again the question about how long a transition are we seeing to fulfill the goals. Of course, net zero 2070 international promises that have been made. India has founded the International Solar Alliance as well in conjunction with France. But do we then work hard towards coming at the forefront and leading the world by example when it comes to solar energy, wind energy, hydrogen energy particularly?
As regarding, if I break this thing in energy wise, if you see the non-conventional energy, solar is concerned, India is actually see the investment that has come in India basically. See the target which has been put up by the central government and by the state government. We are heading very comfortably in a sure footing so long as regarding solar energy is concerned. We are not seeing it any way laggard, and the investment will keep in pouring in. The cost of generation will continue to go down, and you will see that this is definitely taking over the fossil oil gradually. It will be a gradual transition. It cannot be in an economy of this size. It can be a one blockbuster and things changing it. As regarding green energy is concerned, there's a lot of technological challenges. There's a lot of imports to be done, investment to be done, technology to be brought in the country. So that is little taking time. I'm not saying that will be a true forefront. Government is clearly committed to have it. It will become a gradually an inevitable thing which will never be able to, you can't forego it, you can't put it on a laggard way. But it will take time.
Okay.
So there will be a transition time in hydrogen is concerned. That I can say you. It won't be immediate.
Okay, all right. I am being joined by Pradeep Shetty right now. He's the president of the Federation of the Hotel and Restaurant Association of India. Good to have you, Mr. Pradeep Shetty, on the telecast. And of course, the talking point of the budget was also the infrastructure development and logistics development, particularly surrounding tourism in our country. And, an important significant mention of Lakshadweep and how there needs to be connectivity, port connectivity, rail connectivity, and aviation connectivity that needs to be put in place for our islands in the country to develop them into viable, attractive tourist destinations. So how is the hotel industry looking at it?
So in fact, we are extremely delighted to find a special mention in this interim budget, and that's really heartening. And the other heartening fact is the consideration and the understanding of the ministry, on important segments like domestic tourism, on MICE, on religious tourism. So these are really startling features, because these are the cornerstones of development of any country, and we've repeatedly said that tourism has a multiplier economy effect on our country. And other most important part is development of iconic sites. After the success of Sardar Sarovar project, and there's been phenomenal increase of number of hotels and tourism in Gujarat and in that section particularly, and also the special focus on funding such iconic projects. We've engaged with the government, and the government is talking about greenfield tourism projects like the Sardar Sarovar project. And the states are being told that, they'll have funding available, long-term funding. I think all of this translates into a very hurrah kind of situation for us. we are all bound by the 2047 vision of the Prime Minister, and I think this is the right path that we are on to achieve those target of 3 million tourism economy or 100 million tourists. And insofar as Lakshadweep and other islands concerned, I said because there is a focus on domestic tourism, and mind well, post-pandemic, there's been a surge in domestic tourism. Indians are traveling a lot within the country, and this is buoyed by so many initiatives by the government themselves, like Apna Desh Dekho, the Prime Minister himself asking every Indian to visit at least 15 places. And foreign tourist arrivals have been low. Despite of that, the industry has survived. I think, therefore, all this focus and again developing Lakshadweep and all the second, third cities with all this infrastructure, outlay of budget for the development of these sites, I think it's a very, very heartening situation. And I think we look forward with a lot of promise.
Right, absolutely. All right, on that note, let me take a quick short break, come right back, dissecting the budget, which are the key focus areas and how the Indian economy is going to move forward with these structural reforms that have been at the center of the interim budget 2024. Thanks for watching.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.